Saving the Blues, The Road Back from Extinction at the Cayman Islands, moderated by Kata Magia. And our speaker for today is Sangeeta Laudus, the Senior Advisor, International Relations, Strategic Communications and Engagement at the Cayman Islands Government Office for the United Kingdom.
I'm pleased to have Sangeeta Laudus here. As she was announced, she is the Senior Advisor to the Cayman Islands Government Office in the UK. But previously working in communications, you were a finance lawyer. So can you tell us a little bit about your story about the transition into the climate space?
Hopefully you can hear me. So yeah, as you say, I was a finance lawyer for 20 plus years. And I then moved across to working in a marketing business development role for other lawyers, trying to help them sell their services, which was really interesting and rewarding. And that led me into contact with the City of London just as they were embarking on their COP26 program. So I led and designed something called the Green Horizon Summit, which actually started, the whole process started just as we went into lockdown back in 2020. And that's really probably where my love and interest in the power of storytelling, which is what we're here to talk about, started.
Yeah, so as you are saying then, your main work at the Cayman Islands office in the UK is to highlight their conservation efforts. Mm-hmm. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So I have, after leaving the City of London, I became a freelance marketing consultant, and I worked for a number of clients, including the Cayman Islands Government Office in the UK. And a big part of my work has been about highlighting the amazing conservation work that's done there and sharing that so that we can share those insights with others. And one of the work streams has been a docuseries called The One Planet Insights, which was launched last year during London Climate Action Week. And well, it's been super exciting to work on it because as we've been doing it, I've learned so much about conservation and just the connectivity. So I think that's the piece that One Planet Insights really tries to stress, is that we are all, as the name says, one planet, connected, and the ecosystem, one element change can have such a knock-on effect on the rest of the ecosystem.
And then part of this work, you prepared the documentary, Saving the Blues, yeah, which unfortunately we don't have time to watch now, but we can have a look at the trailer.
From the beautiful Royal Botanic Gardens at Kew in West London, I'm delighted to be hosting this installment of One Planet Insights, which will air during London Climate Action Week 2023.
It reminds us we can actually do something, we can make a difference, we can protect land, we can restore species. And, you know, anybody who does that needs to shout about it.
It's not just that they have a right to existence, which they do, or that we want our children and our grandchildren to have the pleasure of seeing them in the future, which we do. It's that they and we are part of a dynamic ecosystem that needs diversity and complexity to function.
Our environment is our home. It provides us with the air we breathe, the water we drink, the food we eat, and it supports the plants and animals that we share this planet with.
The blue iguana is a conservation success story so far, and there are so few of those.
We have not inherited this earth from our ancestors. We borrowed it from our children, doing what we do because we are protecting the legacy we borrowed from our children.
So we have done it. We've achieved the plan.
And in 2018, the 1,000th blue iguana was released into the wild.
We must put nature at the heart of our politics, because we are a part of nature, not apart from nature. And nature is the foundation upon which our economies and our societies are built. If we save nature, we save ourselves.
I get goosebumps every time I see that. So
Yeah.
forgive me for getting emotional.
They are magnificent creatures, and it really inspired me to visit the Cayman Islands next year, hopefully meeting you there. But let's talk about this type of content. Like, why do you think it's so important, especially in the context of island states?
Well, as I said, I'm just watching it. I mean, I've seen this now many times, but every time I watch it and look at those blue iguanas, I just have I can't explain it. This is something about them. And Fred Burton, who I interviewed in the episode, said that he was so he went to the Cayman Islands. I think it was sort of 30 plus years ago, and he was there to look at there was an issue with mosquitoes and looking at controlling those. And as he was going from door to door, he spotted this little red eye. And he didn't know what's that, and then it was the red eye of a blue iguana, and for him that was the kind of start of his love affair with these beautiful reptiles. So I think, you know, David Attenborough has been quoted many times saying that we protect what we love and what we understand about, and I think that's why I feel that sharing these kind of stories, not just I think it's not just about stories of doom and gloom. We do need all the facts, but we also need to just really share the breadth of the natural world, and hopefully when people see something like a blue iguana and they actually understand how it fits in the ecosystem and sort of more about their own life stories, it enables you and empowers you to feel, actually, I do want to protect them. So I think that's what I would say, is just allowing people to understand things they wouldn't know about otherwise.
And do you think that it's important that these stories are told by the islanders themselves?
So I think it's both. I think that you can't beat, of course, islanders will have the most authentic and personal stories, and those stories should be shared. But it's also worth thinking about the fact that people, when you look from the outside, a bit like Fred Burton or a bit like me. I mean, I'm not from the Cayman Islands, but I've been there many times, and every time I'm learning and loving and appreciating the natural assets on the island. And I also think that from the outside, we look at things that maybe someone on an island might take for granted. Because if you're growing up, and I mean, I'm from London, and I think about all the things that I take for granted just because it's your day to day. And then when someone from outside comes and says, gosh, you know, you've got this wonderful history and this juxtaposition of modern and old, and like, oh, yeah, I hadn't thought about that. So the same with the natural assets that islanders have. Sometimes someone from the outside can highlight something that you just, oh, that's just, you know, we're used to having those. We didn't really think they were special.
Yeah. I can totally relate that. I don't live in my home country anymore, and now when I visit back, I have a look at it with a different eye. So I think, as you said, it's important. But then the project, it's not just about showcasing, but creating change.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. So something that I learned about recently, so with the Cayman Islands Government Office in the UK and another of my clients, Banks for Net Zero, we hosted something called a climate fresque, and that was before the summer recess in Parliament earlier this year. And I learned about this idea of the head, heart, and hands concept, which is where you take information in, you process it, and then that will hopefully mean that you will act on it. And it's this concept of transformational learning, and I think that's something that is very key to storytelling, that why are we doing this, why are we putting that information out there if we're not trying to incite some sort of change, whether it's on a personal level or on a sort of a grander scale.
It's great to hear. And what's next in the One Planet Insights?
Well, hopefully there'll be lots of different, there's so much we could talk about and share. The next topic for next year, I think, will be on the oceans. The Cayman Islands have been sort of ahead of the curve, been protecting the waters, the marine protected area since the 80s. So there's lots of learning there that they'd like to share, and also to highlight some of the issues and challenges. So obviously, it's a big problem globally. So it would be great to sort of share how this all started and really put a real sort of focus, and I'll say, excuse the pun, but a real deep dive onto the oceans. One of the things I wanted to mention as well is the first one we did was a focus on migratory birds. And I think that for me was a real personal learning moment. So birds, as we know, migrate from north to south, and why I've always I know about this growing up, but I'd never really understood the importance of the stopover sites, and learning about how a lot of the islands are stopover sites for these, not just for birds, but for turtles and other animals. And it's just that, as I said, that learning piece, which is why I hope that all the different episodes that we're working on will highlight that it's not just about saying this is something that's happening in the Cayman Islands. It's for other islanders to be thinking about similar stories, and for the world at large to realize that actually if we were to destroy some of this habitat, well then there is going to be a knock-on effect, because that bird that's coming down needs a place to rest on its journey. And one of the things I was fascinated, there's these beautiful palm trees in the Cayman Islands, and I saw these little holes in the tree, and I interviewed Patricia, who's an incredible, she's been in the Cayman Islands in the 80s, knows all about migratory birds and has written about that, and she was explaining that some of these birds go back to that specific tree. So imagine how awful it would be when they're coming back the following year in that tree, and you can see it because of the holes they've made pecking in the sort of trunk of the palm.
And if someone would like to watch this documentary and tune in for the next episodes, where can they access it?
So they're all available on the Cayman Islands UK office, government office YouTube channel, and I'm sure if you just Google my name, I think it comes up as well. If you do Saving the Blues, you'll find it.
So this was Saving the Blues and Sangeeta Laudus. Thank you so much.
Okay. Welcome.